Hello everyone, welcome to a new video on the channel. We're going to flip straight into the first page of wrapping up the month of May in my reading journals. We're on the Days Read Pixel. I hope you're doing really well. I'm sorry that this video is extremely late coming out. I've had the video sitting there for like weeks to finish, but I just haven't had time and my house hasn't been quiet enough to narrate it. So here we are now, finally getting this up. And if you're new here, hello, my name is Shao. I love sharing all about my reading journals and my reading experiences. So I hope that you enjoy this video. Today we are going to have the fun that I enjoy every month, which is wrapping everything up. We'll be looking at trackers, we'll be looking at visual guides, everything to do with challenges for the year, things like that. And this first page is one that I absolutely love. I have like an internal script, so I do apologize for those who have watched this video series every single month, but this page is one of my favorites because I love seeing the trends come together. And if you notice, we have a trend that has lasted from January all the way to May, and it is on the 2nd of every month I read at least one book. So I'm really hopeful that that trend continues into June, so then we can say the first 6 months it stayed the same. Otherwise, the trends have been changing a lot. It's been really interesting to look at. So on the left hand side we have the books I read per day pixel, and then on the right hand side it's very spotty looking. That is the one that I use to represent the ones that I finished. So I finished a book on the 24th of May, so I marked that down. Predominantly that side is that cornflower blue purple colour, which represents one book, but for the month of May I actually ended it on a gold colour because I finished 2 books on the last day of the month. So that doesn't normally happen, but I'm glad I could mark that down. We're going to flip over now and look at some of the challenges. Admittedly, the A to Z challenge is still not going very well. I know I've had a couple of people say you need to cut out words like the and but I have some weird stubborn habit about not wanting to do that. Otherwise I would have finished this challenge probably by now. But a lot of the books I read have the same starting letters, so I'm struggling with that challenge. But I did manage to tick off 2 more prompts on my reading bingo card, and I've only got 3 more to go, so that's really exciting. I'm going to flip through that page again and move on to the monthly theme. I like to track down what the theme is in my journal each month, and for the month of May we went with one solid theme, and it was all about the Providence cards from the series The Shepherd King Duology by Rachel Gillig. So that is why I'm sticking down the Nightmare card there, and here you can see some of the decoration of this page. Sorry, this theme, and we're stopping on my functional page just to add in some of the books that I did manage to complete in my prompts for the TBR vending machine game. I only managed to finish 3 out of the 5, which wasn't great, but I did get 10 books read over May. So considering how slow everything felt over May, I'm really pleased that I got 10 done. Whilst I read almost every single day of the month, I just struggled to read for long periods of time or to get a lot of reading done. Some books I flew through and others I just took forever with. So it was a really interesting month for me, and there were a couple of books that were quite long, so that did slow me down a little bit as well. Oathbound by Tracy Deonn was exceptionally long. I think it was like over 650 pages long. So yeah, definitely slowed me down. But I had a really good month of reading when it came to some of the really good reads that I had. Wisteria by Adeline Grace was a given that it was going to be my top book of the month, simply because I've loved books 1 and 2 in the Belladonna trilogy. I love that series so much, and it just owned my heart. Another one I really enjoyed was Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry, again a writer that I really enjoy, but this book was very different from her other stuff and I still managed to enjoy it in the end, so definitely gave that 5 stars. Some other really good books were A Forgery of Fate by Elizabeth Lim, Behooved by M. Stevenson. I really enjoyed Fangs for Nothing by Stephanie Holmes, and there was a really cozy one called Must Love Scones and Secrets by Macy McGill. I think that's how you say it, or McGill. I think it's McGill actually, that sounds a bit better. So yeah, had some good reads. We're now into my reading data journal, and this is where I'm going to track down all the series. I don't think I end up adding in enough series here. It looks very weird that I only end up adding 1, and I actually make a mistake right now. That is not the right read. You'll see that I start to panic. You can see my hands twitching. Yeah. Now I've realized that I had the wrong pen, but I just ended up finishing it because I'd already gone that far. If it really bothers me, I can stick some sticker paper over the top and fix it, but for now it's done that way. So I do have a couple of other books to add to the series that are already ongoing, but I only end up adding one on, and I'm pretty sure I started more than one series. So we'll have to see how that goes, and I will have to go check it because narrating this back, I am confused. I'm going to move on though because I still haven't done my own TBR yet, and that's a bit of a problem. So we'll get to that hopefully soon. I have reorganized my bookshelves, so I think I can get through and start marking that all down so those pages aren't empty anymore. We're now in the 2025 portion of this long-term journal, and we're on the year at a glance, page 2, because we finished the first page. So this one looks really blank, and it was kind of depressing to fill in. It's nice to have a fresh start, but equally it just felt weird because we'd been working towards filling in the other one, and now that it's done, we have to start all over again. But I did manage to put down all 10 books on this list, and if you're new here, the year at a glance is a visual guide. You can use whatever key system you like. I personally use my star ratings, so the colors that you see put down represent a star rating, and I finished a book on the 2nd of May, so I'm going to mark that down on the calendar, and then I'm going to mark the corresponding color to the book, and that's how it goes through. If I happen to finish 2 books on the same day, I tend to go with either the first book I finished on that day, or if it's a really bad rating, I'll give it to the higher rating book. I know that's a bit inconsistent, but it doesn't happen very often, so it doesn't really bother me too much. But in the case of Things for Nothing and Must Love Scones and Secrets, I do end up adding just the one colour because they both were finished on the 31st of May. So this page is now done, and we're moving on into the other trackers. So I did DNF a few books. It wouldn't be me if I didn't. I think I DNF'd 3 or 4. I think I only put down 3 on this list, but I realised after doing all my wrap-ups that I missed one. I think that was this month. So I DNF'd the book club read of the month. I also DNF'd a self-help book, 2 of them actually. I just don't really vibe with self-help books. I'm not sure why. Maybe I am just stubborn and don't want to improve in those ways. I just feel that they're very very long-winded and could be wrapped up in a very concise blog post perhaps. And then I also unfortunately DNF'd a book I was really looking forward to. I just personally can't get along with that author's way of character writing, so that was unfortunate. I did, however, take the advice of a couple of people who have commented in the past about how they can't read the keys at the bottom of the pages on these trackers. So I've gone ahead and made these little graphics. I hope that helps, that you can see what each thing represents. So I've taken a photo and matched the colors as best as I could through Canva. But on the first tracker we had the star ratings getting put down. On this one we're doing genres. And now if you're new here, you haven't heard the complaints about how I shouldn't have broken down cozy fantasy, gothic fantasy, and then other fantasy. I ended up just kind of giving up on that a little bit and just going with fantasy, romantasy, and then the romance ones work fine. So that's been a little bit of a problem, something that I'm going to look forward to fixing in 2026. I'm in this weird state right now while I'm filling this in where I still try to follow it along, but equally just don't really care too much, which makes it inconsistent for you and for me as a stats lover, but I'm too frustrated with the page to sort of think about how to fix it. So maybe in June, to wrap up, I will be a bit more diligent with it. We're now on the formats tracker. This one is always easy to fill in, very straightforward, and you get a very clear idea that I read a lot of ebooks and audiobooks normally, but this month I read 2 physical books, which I was really thrilled about, and a third one was read as a mixed read, so even greater. So the page length or books by length page is one of my favorites because I do really like getting this information. It's not something that I necessarily take on board. Like, I know that I've read like a book that's 452 pages long, but when you see it in comparison with how many other books I've read that was 400 and something pages long, it's interesting to see how many I sort of stick to. So I'm generally reading between 300 to 500 page long books, and that's really interesting information to me as a reader and as a stats lover. So if that doesn't appeal to you, that's fine, but I really find that quite interesting, so that's why I love that page. We're now onto the stats omnibus. This is a huge table where I just jot down very bare bones form of every information piece that I need. Next year I will be changing this up and not having a couple of things that I track on it because I just don't see it as vital information. Again, this was an experiment for the year, and I love the fact that making your own journal and using the bullet journal system, you can change things up that do not service you. So that is one of my favorite things about the stats omnibus and how I can fix that for next year. But so far, really enjoying that stats page. And then these two pages are still zoomed in. I didn't zoom out enough for you, so you can't see the titles entirely. But on the left-hand side, it was my library savings, and I managed to save $32. And then the eArc station, I am doing pretty well with. So now we're going to zoom out, and I will be setting up the final page for you all today, and that is my May stats page. If you're new here, you won't have seen that every single month looks pretty much the same. So I have a title off to the side there, and then just all the stats you can see on the April side gets transferred onto this next one. I did have to get a piece of the Kraft paper from my old journal out, and now we're going to stamp the header on. But back to like my overall reading experience of May, I mentioned before that things were a bit slow with reading. It's really interesting now because I'm in June. Obviously, this is at the end of June when I'm narrating this, and I've done exceedingly well with my June reading, so I'm not sure why I was so slow in May. I can't really think off the top of my head what was holding me back, aside from the fact that I was getting a fair amount of dental work done, so I didn't really feel like reading on those days, or I was sick. But overall, it was really interesting to see how slow I read last month versus some of the other months of the year, and how fast I've read this month in June, which is normally my slowest month of the year because there's so many birthdays and so many things to do in June. However, I will admit that in June, because of May, I have intentionally put more effort into my reading, not only because I've been really enjoying the books that I've picked up in June a bit more than I did in May, but I just have been more intentional about sitting down and reading. I've also had to take on some advice from a health professional about my sleep hygiene, and I don't know why I'm telling you this, but I used to read in bed before going to sleep, and I've been banished from doing that. I'm not allowed to do anything in my bedroom. I have recently been diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome, and I've had to change everything around my sleeping habits and my sleep schedules and everything like that. So I have to be really intentional about staying up to a certain time every night, regardless if I'm tired, and then getting up at the same time, regardless if I'm tired. And to do that, I've been reading. So I think that's helped a lot. I've been able to sit down and just really focus on reading while I'm waiting to go to bed. Because otherwise I used to just lay there for hours and not sleep. So it's definitely helping, and it's definitely meaning that I'm getting more reading done, which is weird because I would take my books to bed, but then I guess the fact of laying down and in a dark room makes it easier to want to sleep, doesn't it? Anyway, that was just some information, a little bit of stats keeping, if you will, about how my life is going with my reading. And it's just really interesting how it's improving this month, and last month was just so slow. But like I said, I had some really good reads over May, and I'm really happy to see that we're already at this point in the year, and I've almost caught up to my reading goal. I think I was about 8 or 9 books behind, and with all the reading that I've been doing over June, I've definitely caught up. So that is a relief. as you can see, for the core stats of May, I had a total of 10 books read. I read a total of 4,135 pages. My average rating was 4 stars. I listened to 18.7 hours of audiobooks. I had 6 arcs. I DNF'd 3, it says, but it's actually 4 books. I got new books. I got 4 of them, sorry. I hired 2 books out from the library. 6 books were part of a series, 4 were standalones. I did participate in a readathon. I also had my book club read that I did not finish, and I had a buddy read. I didn't reread anything, and for the star ratings, I had 2 5 stars, 1 4.5 star, 3 4 stars, 2 3.5 stars, and 2 3 stars. I didn't sample anything either this month, so sampled means what I say as a sampled book is anything that's under 10% read. I don't feel like I've put enough effort in it to even say that I've DNF'd it or even picked it up. So I don't mark it as a book that I've even touched. Generally, I don't add a book to my tracking systems as in Storygraph or Goodreads until I've read at least 10% of it. So yeah, I don't tend to add it in, so I don't really need to take it away or get rid of it. Whereas with a DNF'd a book, I need to kind of put something that somewhere. I did end up messing up this. I'm not sure how my layout got mixed up like this. Perhaps I had an extra line somewhere that I had to add in, but essentially my covers did not fit, so I do end up ripping the page a little bit and having to pull this back up. Because I'm not using my thicker double-sided tape, I'm using the thinner stuff here. That stuff is stickier than the thicker pieces, but I didn't have any left at that point, so here you can see I'm fiddling around with it and trying to fix my error. But overall, the stats looked really good. I did read a few different genres as well. I had 4 romanticies and 3 fantasies, 1 mystery, 1 romance, and 1 paranormal read. So there were definitely more genres added in there. Of course, we could really say that fantasy and romantasy can fall into somewhat of a similar category, but overall, I'm really happy with how I've been reading, and this is the end of the video. So if you've stuck around, thank you so much. I really hope that you liked those new guides that I've added for the key ratings. Let me know if you need any more guides, because I know that this book, Flipping Business, and the speed that I fill in this book and share it with you all is much faster than in normal time, and some people might struggle to see the keys in those situations. So if you need them for, say, the Days Read Pixel, I'm happy to do that. Just let me know. I want to make this as easy as possible for people to enjoy watching. And until we next meet, I hope you have fun reading or journaling. My next video will be the July setup in this book here. I have it already done, and I was about to post it and get that one edited, and then I realized that I hadn't got this one up. So again, sorry that it's taken me so long to get this May wrap up, since we're at the end of June. And yeah, until we next meet, I hope you're doing well, and I'll see you in my July setup video. Bye everyone.